Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description.
Boom, 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 boom. Theme song.
Maybe that's where the band geeks bullied me.
Or were you bullying them going, oh, Tommy, blame your boom, boom, boom.
No, his name was Donnie, and then he became the drum major, and one time the wind blew him off the thing they stand on in front of me.
Poor guy.
No, he was a horrible person.
Okay, never mind. That was the wind of karma.
I've never been more appreciative of the weather. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And today we have 2 new episodes from season 3, probably like one of the peak seasons of Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah, we're going so far.
We're going.
There's been a lot of interesting stuff happening. We're moving. I mean, you know, we don't obviously we don't know everything.
When you finish the show, guess what? You're not going to know
everything. But we got a lot of moving parts. We got a lot of interesting stuff. All the side tangents this year, all the rabbit holes we're falling down, all the leads so far have been a good time. So I think that continues. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we also survived the great California heat wave, which is not concerning at all.
Yes. We were very hot. We did lose power. It was not great, but at least we have air conditioning.
Yes.
When the power's on. Fun fact, it doesn't work when the power goes out. Who knew?
I know. It was so strange.
The downside is that we have an electric stove, which does make eating very difficult when the power goes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when we came back to our apartment complex after the power went out, we had to drive around for a while. Someone else's apartment was... someone had left their burner on and was not home.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the fire department had to come. But nothing... Mm-hmm. It looks like everything was fine. So.
Yeah, no. So we survived. And it's never going to happen again.
No, obviously, the climate is fine. As
I was talking to my boss in a meeting this week, and I did one of those things like where you... like kind of lose track of like where you're going in the sentence, like what you're going to follow up with in the conversation. So I just they were talking about how their air conditioning was like broken. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, hopefully instead of saying like, hopefully that gets fixed, I said, hopefully that's reversible. And they took it as like the climate and they're like, I don't think that's going to happen. Little levity.
We're all screwed. Okay. Anyway, I'm not reproducing for that reason and that reason alone, I think.
We're only producing this podcast. Are you ready for the episode recap then?
I'm absolutely ready.
Okay.
I've never been more ready.
Let's go. Episode 52, season 3, episode 5. That girl is poison.
Ooh. I didn't know we were going to get a singing episode.
I know.
Is that our musical episode?
Yes.
I didn't know. I didn't warm up.
I'm going to stop from here on just to save everybody's ears. But I will continue to speak in my normal tone.
I feel like you've completely lost your ability to speak normally. He's like, whatever do you mean?
Sally sells, she sells. Spencer...
You didn't even make it through it once?
Nope.
Sally sells, she sells,
she sells. She sells. Can't do it. Tongue twisters. Spencer, Emily, and Aria leave Emily's house and mention that Hannah isn't going to join them for lunch because she's sad about Caleb and hasn't eaten since Tuesday. Aria feels guilty about convincing her to tell Caleb, but the friends is like, it's not your fault. And then they commiserate about the new A. They all discuss Wilden circling them and what the hell he might know. And then they see police in an ambulance pull up to the Reynolds house. I put the Garretts. But later when they say Mrs. Reynolds, I was like, oh, that's his last name. Not to be confused with the Garretts, the nice neighbors next doors. Emily says that only his parents live there, and they see Garrett's mom get wheeled out on a stretcher. and they see a hooded figure about 2 houses over watching them. Or Aria sees a hooded figure and then goes to alert the friends, but then when they turn back, the hooded figure's gone. Emily wonders why A would even care about Garrett's mom, and Spencer thinks they wanted her out of the house. Aria and Fitz are out and about. Aria pays for the food, and Fitz is kind of upset about this. He's like, you really don't have to feed me just because I'm unemployed. And she's kind of like, get over yourself. Aria sees Lucas get shoved out of like a storefront, and he bangs on the window, but then he politely asks for his stuff back. He like bangs really hard and he goes, please can I have my stuff back? Poor Lucas.
He's trying so hard to be edgy, and he's just not. No one gave him the studded belt or the eyeliner to really go with the edge, so he doesn't feel like he's in the character.
He gets angry and then he folds like a chair. Emily sits alone at a table at school, and Paige silently walks by. Emily then sees her and calls her over and says she's been meaning to call Paige to invite her to the movies because she has these tickets.
To see Katy Perry.
Katy Perry, yes. And she was going to go with Hannah, but now Hannah can't go. Paige says...
You're my backup friend. Do you want to come?
Right. I mean... God, poor Paige. I mean, name it a more Paige thing. Paige says, I guess I'm in. I just haven't heard from you. Speaking of people folding like a chair, Emily says senior year has just been kicking my butt. All this studying and way too many things going on.
Making up most of last year. I was being stalked and then my girlfriend got murdered.
And then now my old friend's body's missing. It's crazy.
I have no connection to that though.
Right. Paige says, I'll go, but I thought you were avoiding me. Emily says, not intentionally. I just been going through a lot. Paige then says, okay, I'll go with you. They then see Jenna is back at school without her glasses, and everybody's greeting her and so excited for her. And Paige is like, oh, didn't you hear? She can see again. She got surgery before school, and now that she's back, she can see. And Emily then stares across the hallway down at Jenna. Ashley asks why Hannah's still at home as she's going to leave for work, and asks if Hannah's heard from Caleb. She says he won't respond to any of her texts or calls. Ashley says, I know you left things unresolved, and Hannah says, it's resolved, he left me. Ashley says, you don't know what the future holds, but you do have to go to school. Ashley then ropes in Hannah to help at a rummage sale at the nearby church over the weekend, and tells her pretty much that she has to go. And then Hannah goes to leave for school, and Ashley comments oh, you're just gonna go in your sweats and t-shirt, and Hannah says yes. So then Hannah leaves out the back door, Ashley goes to leave out the front, and then we see Hannah sneak back into the house. At school, Spencer and Emily are mad at Jenna's return. Spencer asks Emily about Lucas's visit to the photography studio, which was the storefront. And says that this was the same place that Hannah and Aria saw Lucas leaving from late at night earlier in the season. Emily asks if they now think he's the one who took the photos at the graveyard. They agree with me. And Spencer says maybe. Spencer hands Emily a printout from her mom's tablet, saying that Garrett is getting out of jail to visit his mom in the hospital. Emily is extremely angry about this, and Spencer hypothesizes that maybe A hurt Garrett's mom to get him out of jail. Intense. Jenna walks toward them and hands them 2 envelopes, and then is like, oh, I haven't seen Aria and Hannah. Can you give them these envelopes for me? Spencer asks what they are, and it's invitations to her birthday. And Spencer asks no, what is up with all this? Why are you out and about showing that you can see? Jenna says, I feel a lot safer when I'm in charge of what happens to me. Hard to disagree. Emily works at the brew. Her manager is then hey, you have to work Jenna's birthday party, which is going to be here. Hooray. Jenna and a photographer named Laurel then are sitting in a private booth space preparing for the party. Emily walks over and Jenna introduces her to Laurel. And Laurel mentions that she had to fire her assistant because he's a thief. He stole her equipment and used it to develop his own photos. Nate then comes in angry that Garrett is being let out, and Emily calms him down. And is well, you have some compassion because his mom is dying, potentially. And it's just can you just hang here? I can't do this right now because I'm on the clock. And then Nate exchanges glances with Jenna. And he kind of looks a little bit upset, but she smiles at him. Aria and Spencer discuss Fitz getting mad about being fed. Aria then gets a text from him saying he got an invitation to Jenna's birthday party also. And supposedly she wants to see her favorite teacher for the first time. Gotta love Jenna. Aria asks what Spencer's working on her laptop. I misspelled something. So I was just like, what did I say here? And Spencer's like, I'm not writing a paper. I'm on my mom's laptop trying to see who Garrett is going to see when he's let out.
Yeah, she's trying to hack her mom's email.
There you go. Paige is at Emily's house, and Emily's apologetic for canceling their movie plans for tomorrow now that she has to work Jenna's birthday party. Paige says, well, at least we see each other at the party then. And Paige helps Emily clip on her tie. They have this whole scene instead of like, let me help you tie the tie and like put that on, where it's like, oh no, and we're getting close to each other, romantic. Instead, it's a clip on, and they both can't seem to figure out how to put on the clip on tie. And there's a lot of tension there. But then Emily breaks it off and goes look for a different tie. Paige says she's surprised that she got invited to Jenna's birthday party because like they aren't close at all. Paige then finds Emily's flask from the beginning of the season. And asks, oh, is this yours? It's really nice. Like, there's a really nice flask here. Emily then has a flashback to drinking with her friends, and says that's a mistake. Like that I don't want that. And Paige is like, are you sure? It's really nice. It's like, no, I don't want it. You can completely have it. Just take it.
That's right, Emily. Give someone else your evidence.
Yep. Chekhov's flask. At the brew, Laurel leaves and Jenna walks her out, then turns around, talks to Nate, and flirts with him and sits down next to him. Hannah comes over to Spencer's, and Spencer asks why she's dressed like that. And Hannah says, I'm too depressed to work a zipper. She mentions how she was roped into this rummage sale with her mom at the church. Aria comes back into the room as she was just on the phone and says she is like friends with the photographer. And the Lucas connection, and says they're like that he was probably the assistant that the photographer was talking about, and that maybe, just maybe, Lucas also dug up the grave. Hannah doesn't believe it and says we need to just stay with Jenna. They wonder why Garrett is being released the night of Jenna's party and if it's a trap. Hannah says she won't be there. Hannah says I won't be there. Like, who would actually want to go to this? And Aria says me. Hannah and Ashley are working the rummage sale, and Hannah is antsy to leave. Ashley goes to grab food and then meets a nice man named Ted, and they hit it off. Aria talks. I do like Ted. Pastor Ted, as we find out next episode. I mean, you get the vibes anyway. It is very funny that neither of them pick up on this at all. I mean, Hannah just doesn't want to. She's just like, this man is bothering me. But the
great. There's a goober, another goober.
Exactly. But the fact that Ashley doesn't pick up on it is really funny. It's like you're working a church sale. Also, how is Ashley connected to this church?
Through her bank. They volunteer.
Oh, it's through the bank.
I was like, we get told.
Got it. It doesn't make my notes.
Don't worry. I kept that one right up here because it was super important.
Steel trap.
Don't ask me any of the plot.
I only want to know about Ashley's work, what they do, what kind of like volunteering they do. Aria talks on the phone with Spencer about running into Laurel to get answers from her on Lucas. Fitz interrupts her, and so Aria abruptly ends the call. He mentions getting food around his house tonight, and Aria's like, no, we should go to the party. Fitz is like, why do you want to go? I'm surprised. And Aria says, maybe we can, finally bury that hatchet with Jenna. Like, it's the least I could do. And Fitz is like, okay, I guess, like, the dinner can wait. Or no, he says, sorry, like, oh, okay, like, that sounds good. I guess this can't wait then. I got you a surprise. He hands her a gift, and Aria unwraps it to this old antique camera and loves it, but is surprised he went out and bought something. At the hospital, Garrett is picking out flowers with sheriff deputies as Spencer watches him from like just around the corner. She's on the phone with Emily, who's preparing for the party. Garrett seems to overhear Spencer, so she kind of like ducks away. He doesn't see her, and she wonders why he's signing cards for the flowers that he's giving to his mom as she's in a coma and not doing a lot of reading. It's absurd that this pays off. Spencer turns around and runs into Wilden. Wilden says, I get it. He hurt someone close to you, but he's losing his mom. And he's like, what are you even doing here? She comes up with some story, and he says he used to be a much better liar. He then leaves and gets in the elevator with Garrett and the deputies. Jenna's party is in full swing. Paige arrives as Emily works the party, and Paige stops her, and Emily is excited to see her. They see Nate show up, and Paige asks who he is. Emily says Maya's cousin, and Paige looks uncomfortable and balls up her fists like the DW, like the Arthur meme, and then grabs a drink from Emily. Hannah sorts through clothes and finds a leather jacket. She tries to sneakily stuff it in her purse, but Ted sees. He walks over to her and calls her out on it, and she's like, "Oh, I just wanted it. Here's $20. Is that how much it is?" And he like looks at her and like takes it. She asks if he knows where the lost box, like where this box of clothes came from, and he says no. Excuse me. Hannah calls Emily and leaves her a voicemail saying, "Your gray jacket from the night of the graveyard just showed up here." Emily works the party and finds Nate. He says he was invited last minute after getting invited by Jenna yesterday. Nate says he's not in the mood to party, but she's pretty intriguing and like maybe I want to know more. Emily's like, "No, you don't." Nate asks, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "Oh, nothing," and goes to continue working. We see Paige pour alcohol from the flask into her drink. I wonder what's going to happen. Aria and Fitz arrive at the party, and they are greeted by Jenna. She apologizes for just staring at both of them and says she's getting used to matching faces with voices. Aria goes to goes to talk to Laurel. This is the photographer, and she took a summer class on photography from her, and mentions the camera that Fitz got her. Laurel says he must have dropped a pretty penny on that one. Those are like really nice like cameras. Laurel comments how she doesn't have an assistant anymore, and Aria says like, "Oh, I'd be interested in it." Laurel says, "Great, you can have the spot once I get rid of the rest of my old assistant. I'm holding on to his camera bag until his mommy and daddy write me a check." Emily's working the back as Paige comes like back there to like talk to her. Emily's like, "I can't hang out right now. Like I'll get in trouble." And Paige says, "Oh, was your manager mad when you're hanging out with Maya's cousin?" Aria then walks in and interrupts them, and Paige says, "I'm going to leave anyway. It's a no friend zone," and then leaves. And Aria's like, "Okay, whatever," grabs a drink from Emily and pours it over Laurel's bag and says she's getting into that studio tonight.
She pours it over her memory cards, I think is what it is.
Oh, yeah. It was just like all of her like bag. I think her memory cards are probably in there.
It was on the top.
Oh, it was on the top.
They were on the top. Like SD cards or something.
Got it. Spencer is at home, and Toby enters her room, surprising her. A little background. We just watched Twilight recently, where Edward enters into Bella's room, surprising, and I couldn't help but immediately be like, "Hey there, Spider Monkey."
Also, we decided while watching this scene that they've made a huge mistake in the Twilight franchise because Keegan Allen would have bodied the role of Edward.
He would have been so good.
He would have been so good.
He would have been perfect for Edward.
Because
like kind of like moody also, and like looking uncomfortable too when he.
It's
like,
something about his chin and jaw too that I'm just like, you would be a 100-year-old vampire.
Right, and he's good at like his acting style. Pretty much is like very like kind of like terse and moody and kind of like that. So it's like,
but there's like sexual tension to it, which is like what Edward's supposed to be like sexy,
right?
But like when you look at Robert Pattinson in the Twilight franchise, do you think sexy?
No, it's like it goes from
Sahara Desert. Like I'm not feeling it.
It goes from tummy upset to like scampish. And then like Kristen Stewart is just like eternally staring at the ground, just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
We could have had what if we had used Troian too? What if we had
I'm saying we transplant them both into this. We would have had a series.
Do you think we could get them to do it now? I mean, I know they're both like well into their 30s, but
depends on how much money we got. Hollywood, you need a reboot.
We need a reboot. We need a reboot.
We're not gonna write it, but like.
Well, we can. We can make it better, honey. Trust me. If you read the book, you can summarize that's asking a lot right now. You can summarize the plot slightly better than the film did, because let me tell you, that was 2 hours. Where was the plot?
God knows.
What was the plot of Twilight, Brenton?
I was surprised at how low the stakes were. In a positive way, because like I know where it goes from there.
Builds.
Well, the second movie has the vampire Vatican.
The Volturi.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The anti-Italian movement.
And then this one is just like we're a lovely family that all sits here. We're all vampires, but like we don't harm humans.
Except for Rosalie, her only personality trait is she's a bitch.
Right, exactly. Everybody's just like ignore her.
She's just
She's just well, we're too nice. We're not going to say that word.
We wouldn't use that.
But welcome in.
Rhymes with runt.
And then it's just like, but there's like some other bad vampires that come in and they're not good like us.
Because they're vegetarians,
yeah.
which is truly the importance of the Twilight franchise, is that vegetarians are better than everyone else.
I was just so surprised and caught off guard that there was no tension with the family at all.
As someone who was a vegetarian when these films came out,
yeah, you were like,
I respected this. And then when I started eating meat again in my 20s and I became significantly healthier, I realized that maybe, just maybe, it's not best to deprive your body of what it naturally wants. Mm-hmm. And maybe they should just be eating bad guys.
And now we eat red meat all the time.
I don't eat red meat. That makes my tummy hurt. I would look like Edward in the scene when Bella walks into the lab.
Yeah.
While watching that film, Brenton did look at me and he goes, I'm so glad that we're getting representation for tummy troubles because it looks like everyone's going to shit their pants.
It really does.
He's not wrong. Everyone does look like they're going to shit their pants in that film.
Yeah. God, from Bella to Edward.
Who's and then in between that?
And all of her normal friends that are like, well, like, you can hang out with us. And just like, eh.
Everyone is so nice to Bella, and she's an absolute bitch. This is not a Twilight podcast, but if it was, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Anyway, back to Toby.
Back to Toby.
Spider Monkey.
Enters her room, surprising Spencer. They kiss, and Spencer asks, like, what's wrong? Toby's like, I was hoping to escape my family by living above the brew. But, like, now, like, they're all at the brew, and so I can't avoid them. Spencer asks if his parents were expecting him to attend, and he says, like, in so many words, he's like, is it okay for me to, like, barge in like this? I just need to get out of there. And Spencer says, I have a French test coming up, but you can just stay and distract me. Spencer asks how Toby and her were the only ones who knew that Jenna was faking. How did your parents not notice? Toby said that Jenna said a couple weeks ago she had told her parents that she had started seeing shapes and shadows a while back, but was too scared to tell anyone because it might all go away. Pretty convincing. Paige continues to drink at the party. Aria catches up with Fitz, and he's mad that he got stuck talking to Jenna alone and wants to leave. Aria says, no, just a few more minutes, and goes to talk to Emily, and Fitz is put out again by being left alone. Jenna is talking with Nate and sees that Paige is messing with the cupcakes, and Paige is like dipping her like fingers in it and smearing it and like eating it. Jenna then walks up to her and asks what she's doing. And Emily tries to intervene to like walks up to help her out. Paige is angry that Emily is like, oh, only now paying attention to her and feels put off, but Paige is obviously drunk. Paige takes walks away, but takes a big spill and like lands on the floor and is bleeding from her head. Nate then swoops in to help, and him and Emily take her out of there. Nate and Emily are now at the hospital waiting for Paige, and Hannah arrives. Turns out that Paige is getting stitches, and Emily introduces Nate to Hannah. Nate then goes to grab them coffee, and Hannah gives Emily the jacket that she found, and Emily finds that it is definitely hers because it has the exact same tear in the pocket. Emily says, all I know is that I wore this jacket to Spencer's, but otherwise I have no idea. Hannah says, when we got to the graveyard, you weren't wearing it because you were sitting there shivering. Hannah wonders if Emily left it in Jenna's car, and Emily says maybe Jenna isn't the only person I saw that night. Hannah has to leave to go back to the church, and then Nate comes back with the coffee. Emily sees Wilden talk to a doctor, so then Emily goes and checks her phone. At the party, Aria continues to search around, and Fitz sees her run to the back. Aria runs into the manager instead of Emily, and Fitz comes into the back and is like, hey, what the hell is going on? Like, are we hanging out here because, like, you think I can't afford a meal? Aria says, you're spending money you don't have. Fitz says, I have money because I got the job. I forget what the job was.
It's an editing job.
Editing job. There you go. And wanted to surprise you at dinner. And they hug and are excited. Laurel then comes into the back and finds her equipment drenched. And Aria's like, oh, let me go to the studio and get like your new SD card for you. And Laurel's like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. And you're hired. Fitz is like, well, I'm just going to go cancel the reservation then. And Aria's like, no, hold on, just a little longer. We then cut to Aria entering Laurel's studio. She looks around the development room and opens up a cabinet and finds a bag with a Rosewood High tag on it. Aria searches the bag, and as she's searching it, we see a shadow move behind her. Aria finds undeveloped film and takes it, and as she leaves out the door, Lucas stops her and like literally stands in front of her and says he needs to get inside there. Just leave the door open and walk away. Aria tells him to get out of her way, but he doesn't budge. Fitz then pulls up in his car and gets out and is like, hey, what's going on here? As Lucas runs away, and he's like, Lucas? He asks what's going on to Aria as they both stare in the direction that Lucas ran. Nate asks Emily about Paige. Like, what is she to you? Emily says, we dated for a while. Nate's like, when, like, before or after Maya? And it's like, in between. Spencer arrives and says, we have to get upstairs to see what's on those flowers. Garrett and the deputies then get out of an elevator, and Nate rushes in to, like, trying to, like, either, like, attack or just yell at Garrett and gets, like, pinned back by the deputies. And then as he's getting pinned back by the deputies, Spencer runs inside the elevator and goes up. Paige comes out and says the doctor ran a test because of how little alcohol I drank. Like, I shouldn't have been that drunk. There were traces of this, like, specific type of sleeping pill in my system. Paige gives Emily back the flask and is like, I don't want this on me, like, when my parents come to pick me up. Spencer enters Garrett's mom's room and goes to look at the flowers, or the card attached to the flowers on the side table. Written on it is a note of love for his mom to get better from Garrett. Spencer then looks around the room and looks at his mom's arm and notices a piece of paper in her hospital bracelet. She pulls it out and reads it, and it says, April Rose has the proof. Aria and Emily are on the phone, and Aria is looking at the negatives of the photos. Kind of holding them up to the light. Like old school, like, I should explain this, like the old, like, film reel, like
a roll of film.
Roll of film, and is like holding up to the light to see the photos. And Emily is looking up the milazepam, which was the sleep medicine that Paige mentioned, and it's used for sleeping disorders and aggressive patients and inmates. They don't flag that, but we should. It has side effects with alcohol, including memory loss. Aria wonders why Emily was the only one who was drugged. Nobody else was out of the friends the night they go to the graveyard. Aria opens up a camera roll bottle and finds pills in it, and then confirms with Emily that they are, in fact, milazepam. What are you up to, Lucas? The A scene for the episode is a POV shot as a gloved hand searches through a purse. If they first pull out a flyer for Fantana bus lines, then a keychain, then an Altoids box, then a wallet which includes the photo of Emily that she sent to Maya. This is one that Nate had on his phone that he showed to Emily. They then pull out a pill bottle that has Maya's name on it. The end.
Okay, let's start with the most important question. Mm-hmm. Why would A attack Garrett's mom to pass notes?
I know.
There's got to be a better way.
There's got to be a much better way than putting in, like, a woman in a coma.
Yeah, also, like, how?
And
what's wrong with her?
Right. And is Garrett, like, we don't get any clarification on what the hell's going on with her. And does Garrett just hate his family? He could just hate his family.
I guess so.
I don't know. He could be, like, that much of a... Because it's also that the note that's being passed, as we find out next episode, is to his benefit. Mm-hmm. So, like... I don't know there could potentially be arm twisting, I guess, from A just to get him out. And it's like, it's time to get you out. We need to pass notes.
Yeah.
Your mom in the hospital. Don't worry. She'll be all right. But, like, you're right. There has to be a much better way of
it doesn't
doing
make
that.
Any sense.
No.
Okay.
This poor woman, poor Mrs. Reynolds. I don't know her. I guess she could be horrible. Let's go with that. She's just absolutely horrible. So, like, who cares if she gets injured? I don't know. It's weird.
Let's talk about Paige and Emily.
Uh-huh.
So how do you feel?
It's I'm surprised to I think it helps that this is our confirmation that Emily was drugged the night of the graveyard. Because otherwise the I'm gonna get angry drunk and then make a fool of myself yelling at you doesn't
It's not really Emily's vibe.
It helps Paige especially because this is just it happens in TV stuff. It helps at least steer away from this kind of Warren, we're kind of seeing this is to be expected. So I think that I think helps soften it. It's okay, this has plot relevance, I guess. Yeah. But Paige is never going to be it. And even if they are going to
write Paige to be a character that you root for.
No.
And I think it's kind of fucked up.
It is.
Because I think that Paige could have been a character we rooted for. Paige could have been a character that we were her family's horrible, and then finally they accept her. And we could have had this arc similar to Emily's. But I think instead of writing an original arc for Paige, they just copy pasted Emily's, made Paige's parents worse. And then I don't know though. Well, Pam invented homophobia. Right. That's a stolen from Mike's Mike, but she really did go for it in season 1. But then I don't know. They don't write a character that makes you go, you know what, I want to you root for Maya. Right. You root for Samara.
Yep. I think especially with Paige, they didn't write a character, I think is the issue. She's just only right, and she's only in opposite to Emily. She's just someone who's interested in Emily. She has no other she has no other arc, really. Even the stuff about her coming out is then all framed in, well, hopefully we can get back together. It's not, we don't see.
It's not for her.
No, it's all about Emily.
Converse to Holden, who's doing his karate thing that's for him and using Aria in a sense.
Right, exactly. And then maybe they would fall in love with each other, but that's not how that goes.
No.
But so funny that he pops up next episode. We'll get to that. I
forgot about this, and you called it right on the money when you saw the reflection.
Yeah, so we did. Yeah, we did a little stop and analysis because I'm like, oh, this will be good for me to have clues, and it's oh, they just revealed it. I'm not that smart. But yeah, she's just kind of only there to. It's the when people complain about that women don't have roles and things, valid complaint, I should say, that oh, the love interest in the movie is only there to serve the, usually male purpose. It's the exact same thing here. It's just she's just there to be another person to bounce off of Emily because they all have to have a love interest. And in this case, she's just not especially engaging
or charismatic.
No. And it's only, and she's very jealous. So then it's even worse to try and go along.
Possessive, and it's they took the worst parts of a female love interest in general and were what if we made this character that, but not without any other personality traits.
Exactly.
It's really unfortunate because I'm totally. It could be a really fun story.
Right, and right now that's your only other queer character on the show. Samara's gone, and Maya's dead. So.
Well, and
0 for 2?
I mean, Allison, but she's dead.
Right, but she's dead too. And the thing with Allison too is even weirder because it's almost because she was using Emily also.
I've always assumed Allie was bi, she just went with it.
Yeah, I could totally buy that. But yeah, it's very unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
Right.
It's not done well.
No.
Paige is not done well.
Yeah. And when we groan loudly about Paige, it is not the actress's fault. She is up a creek.
Obviously. Yeah. She did not write her character.
No.
Yeah, it is it's
she's doing her best because what she's being told to play is this awkward person who doesn't communicate well.
Yeah. Okay. Enough about Paige. So let's talk about Jenna.
Mm-hmm.
Jenna can see, and she's public about it.
Right.
And then she decides to throw a party about it.
Uh-huh. So like
well, for
what?
a birthday party, but
Uh-huh. And I mean, they flag it that it's that there's this potential like, oh, is it a trap that it's on the same date as like Jenna's birthday?
it's Garrett visiting his
Garrett getting out, yeah. Sorry. Jenna's birthday is on the same day as Jenna's birthday. Isn't that strange? What? Right. But yeah, I think that lends some evidence too of what we were talking about last week of like, yeah, she's probably full of shit.
Yeah.
When she is like being cornered and she acts like sad and terrified and stuff, it's like, no, like she's got a reservoir of well, like Garrett said, like she's so strong, like she's been through so much stuff that you don't even know about. But she does like have a lot of strength, and I think that's what's fun about Jenna. Is that, you know, when she's doing her mischievous things in the background, she's very aggressive about it. And so I think my like theory for that is that the like Garrett passing notes thing is connected to her still. And so this is a way to this is a way to give her cover, because like, oh, here's a cover story. I haven't at my birthday party. What do you mean? So I like that now Jenna is just like, oh yeah, no, it's time to go into offensive mode. Look, oh my God, I'm so brave coming out. Like I'm not scared anymore. But I don't think it was ever ever really about that. So, you know, new layers to Jenna, and just also being the worst of like, it's my party. We're gonna set this up here. Like,
where Toby lives.
Mm-hmm. It's so fucked up.
Let's talk about Jenna and Nate.
Yeah, another interesting thing. And I love it because, like, I mean, so Nate just started, so it's, you know, not like, if that's at least okay. Like being interested in this high school girl. But it's so funny, of course, because she's like, flirts with him, comes up to him, she's attractive, so he's just like, hey, like, this girl was interested in me, like, maybe this is exciting. And then for him to be completely disconnected from everything that's going on into the town, and like Emily and the friends, who are the only people that seem to be like opposing to Jenna, being like, you don't want no part of that.
Run.
Right. So I think that's a very fun wrinkle that I hope they continue to flesh out. I think that it's a good way to drive a wedge between Nate and Emily, which is, I'm assuming, where it's going.
So yeah, where do you think Nate and Emily are going? That was my next question.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a wedge driven between them, and the wedge name is Jenna.
Okay.
And she's going to be like as it's going to be, Emily's going to see Nate come into the brew. Here's how the scene's going to play out.
Okay.
Emily's going to see Nate come into the brew, and she's really excited and is like, hey, I get off at this time. We can catch up then. And he's like, oh, sorry. I'm not like here to see you. And then Jenna walks in. She's like, oh, hi, Emily. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yep.
You're so scandalous. Hannah's moping is a vibe.
Yeah, completely.
Hannah's sad. Sad girl vibes.
Hannah is sad, but isn't being quiet about it. Like
when has Hannah been quiet about something?
I know. That's what I love about it. Hannah is just
Hannah is the character that I feel like maybe is the most my vibe when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
it's just like, yeah, I'm sad. I'm gonna be home. I'm gonna be at home, like
crying.
Moping. So like later.
Okay, bye. But
right.
I don't think I quite have that level of acknowledgement to my feelings.
And she's just right. Yeah, and Hannah's just like, I feel bad, so I'm not gonna go to school.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. You know, now that she's sad. And then Hannah's like, okay, wait, maybe like finding this jacket, I have a purpose. So like, okay, maybe I'll get myself cleaned up, and we got some things to do.
Yeah.
Get myself, get me outside of the house and outside of my feelings.
Where do we think the jacket came from?
Right, because I think it was like someone trying to, especially since it went through a donation box. I think it was someone potentially either trying to help Emily or as an insurance, like how like Garrett then cashes in his shit later. like that they could like track down this jacket in the future potentially. Although it going
How
through a
would you
donation box and then
track it?
going there, yeah. So it almost seems like it's trying to help. Someone was trying to help Emily by donating it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about Ted.
Hey,
We can talk more about Ted in the next one, but
well, I mean, I'm fine to talk about Ted now. He's just a nice dude, and I like that Ashley is very taken with this guy, and he just seems like a nice guy. You know, he's a goober and he has his like goofy flirting, but Ashley's like, oh,
it's fun.
it's very fun. It's just nice. It's wholesome, and Ashley is, you know, good for Ashley for finding someone where there's like no weird shit attached and seems like a pretty good person.
Uh-huh.
And I'm assuming with Ted, how it'll grow is, you know, Ashley's going to be very closed off as she is in next. But like, you know, Ted being a pastor and all is just like, I don't care.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, you've got a pass. That's fine.
Jesus
I don't care
forgives
that-
our sins.
And I don't care that you embezzled or took money from the bank. That's all right.
I wouldn't tell Ted that. I'm gonna
No.
be real candid here and keep that close to the belt, Ash.
Yeah, I know.
But
I mean, he'll, you know, Ashley, it is
this
not
is
on
not
you.
a Catholic church. He does not have to confess, and I think
Totally.
that's an important distinction to make. Ashley, do not confess.
No, and you do not have, you know.
And even if you are Catholic, lie to the priest. Who gives a fuck?
You could talk to Ted about the horrors of Wilden.
Yes.
That's not on you.
Okay. Aria and Ezra at the party, and Ezra getting the editing job. It's weird when they go public.
Right. And I love that like Jenna is just like, oh, sorry for staring. Even though Jenna is just like,
Well, and the best
it's like
part
flat
is
face smile.
that Aria knows that Jenna's been able to see this whole time.
Uh-huh.
But obviously Ezra does not. And
Right.
obviously Jenna knows Aria hasn't told Ezra that.
Mm-hmm. So it's great.
Jenna's playing chess.
Oh, that's a great point. And yeah, and she's just like, it's like staring at him but not shocked. It's just like, oh, just so, you know, just trying to put like
Faces.
voices to faces.
Yep.
So it is weird seeing them just show up at like her high school friend's party and it's like, oh, I'm with the teacher now.
And even the adult there who's a photographer is like, oh, your high school boyfriend. And she's like, oh, he's not in high school. And she's like,
Uh-huh.
oh,
I
okay.
forgot about that. Yeah. He's actually graduated. He used to teach me English.
I hate it.
So yeah, it's rough, but it's very funny when Fitz pouts about something or is upset about something. It's all about his pride, so it's like,
Yeah.
makes it very unlikable.
So I always had like a soft spot for Ezra, like when I first watched the show, and over time and like as I rewatch, I mean, I always loved Toby and I loved them all.
Uh-huh. You can't not.
But Toby was always my number one.
We
'cause
can't help but stand.
I can't help but stand a working class man.
That's right.
That's what I got to say about Toby.
He works with his hands out there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is he a carpenter?
Uh-huh. Chiseled those abs too.
Though I mean, Ren's accent always, it's hard. There's a lot of great ones, but
Like
I
we said,
really-
if there were certain other extenuating circumstances about Ren, then he would be a very good character.
But
And
Ezra's
romantic interest.
just annoying.
Yeah.
I take back anything I ever thought positively about him. I'm like, the actor himself, great, adorable, perfect. The chemistry the two characters have their chemistry is the only reason why Ezria works.
Yeah.
Because the two of them feed off each other so well, like naturally or intentionally, I don't know, however acting works, that I'm like, okay, this feels good. But like, if it was with anyone else, I would be like, I want this man gone.
Right. It's like, good Lord, is this over yet? Because it's every little thing is just like a little attack on his ego. And then
He's such a 20-something-year-old man that's actually a well-written guy in his like early to mid-20s.
Yeah. No,
He's like, oh, well.
you think I can't put food on your plate, babe? And listen, like you're 100% right that it is very spot on for like the age too.
I'm thinking of like, also like, you know what I realized about this show is that like it's definitely written from like a woman's perspective in the sense that like none of these men walk around going, babe,
Yeah.
babe, babe. Because like nothing makes me want to vomit more than when like a man does that like all day. I've like absolutely wanted to like leave rooms, situations, parties because I've heard too many babes and they weren't directed. Even like, especially if they're, I don't want them directed at me. Babe is a pig. I love him very much.
Right.
I explained that to a guy in high school once and he was really offended. He called me babe and I was like, I'm sorry.
Nope.
I only think of the pig. And if you refer to me as babe, the pig,
Then
we're going to have
we're done.
bigger problems.
Yeah.
But also like he is a really cute pig. So
Yeah.
you know, use it sparingly if you're going to use it. But like, I it was written by women and I appreciate that. Or if it's written by men, they knew better than to throw in that
Insert
many.
that in. Yeah,
throw in the frat boy babe.
Uh-huh.
You know who would overuse babe out of everyone? Ian.
Yeah,
Ian would
100%.
use babe.
Yeah. Oh, babe.
Babe, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Babe, what's wrong?
Is the baby okay, babe?
Yeah. I want to die. If you like being called babe, that's fine. Absolutely. Go get him, Tiger. But like, not on my watch.
Good for you, but I wouldn't be caught dead.
Good for you, but you're really going to do that? I've been watching too much Pretty Little Liars and I apologize for my personality. Anyway.
But yeah, it's that very, very fragile ego.
Yes.
Which you're right is very, very correct, but also at the same time, it's just like back to him.
Accurate, and I hate it.
Right. Back to him, I guess.
That's why you don't want to date older boys when you're in high school. They're worse.
Got more problems.
Their trauma has started to resurface, and let me tell you. Look at Ezra. You don't want that. Anyway, so let's talk about Lucas. Lucas has pills in his camera bag. He's got fired from his job. He's Dark Lucas. He's out there doing dark Lucas things. He's doing Dark Lucas shit. And also, someone was in that studio with Aria.
Yep.
And it was obviously not Lucas.
I don't think it was. I think because Lucas was outside, that the shadow was from Lucas walking around to the front. That's what I mapped backwards, so that there wasn't anybody else actually in the studio. It was just Lucas out front, being, like strung out and being like, "Give me the bag, man."
Okay.
He kind of had the look on his eyes like the guy who like killed Batman's parents.
Oh my God. I don't know what you're talking about. But that reference is terrifying.
Over your head? That's all right.
Well, I'm just referring to anyone as they got the look in their eye, like the guy who killed Batman's parents.
It's at least like as portrayed in certain things, kind of like strung out, got a gun. In other like comic
I feel like
references and stuff,
every Batman I've seen, the parents are already dead. Like
yeah.
I didn't get to find out. He's at the cemetery.
When Batman Begins, they show his parents get killed.
Which one's Batman Begins?
The first one with Christian Bale. And I don't think you haven't seen the Michael Keaton Batman. I think he has flashbacks to it.
I've only seen the Dark Knight ones.
Oh, okay. Well, so the Batman Begins is the first one of that trilogy.
That trilogy?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I've seen that.
Right. And then they don't show it in Batman v Superman.
No, they
It's
don't.
just he's
but we
already
find out
sad.
their moms have the same names.
No, he goes through 9/11 instead.
Yeah, dark times.
It's just a wild opening to that movie. It's just like
that movie was very long.
Yeah, but just to have the opening of like him like driving through the city as like buildings are collapsing because like Superman's in a fight. It's like that. So that's what I mean by like 9/11. It's like, damn, this is a lot.
Yeah, I don't love that.
It's a good movie. The extended edition, at least. I don't know. The people didn't like the theatrical cut, but okay. So back to Lucas. Batman.
He's not Batman. He's got parents.
Yeah, he does have a lot of problems though. So I think like Lucas is again tied up in this shit, and I think he wants his camera bag. One, because of the pills. So I think he's involved in that drugging, and I also think that like because he was using shit at the studio, he definitely took the photos.
Okay.
I think I'm right on that one.
But okay, cool. And then last but not least, why does A have Maya's purse?
Maya died.
No. I'm aware, but no one was like, "Oh, her purse is missing."
It could have been.
You think A killed Maya?
Potentially related.
Are you gonna say right now
that A killed Maya?
Uh-huh.
Fuck.
Or was that not A? Was that Maya's killer? Because I think there's also that whole,
right.
We don't know who these people are.
I don't know who else would. Who else would kill Maya?
I mean, have you met this town? Who wouldn't kill someone?
Fair enough. I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Or, related to them so that they have Maya's person or digging for stuff that might be related to get them caught.
I love it.
Yeah. Because Maya, well, we find out more the next episode. We'll come back around to it.
Are you ready to go into the next episode?
Episode 53, Season 3, Episode 6, The Remains of the A. Hannah and Spencer walk through the hospital. Hannah searches for Garrett's mom's room and has a plan to replace the note with a fake note. Spencer then says she was the one that came up with the plan. They plan to lead A to the Rosewood church and meet them and try and scout them there. Spencer says Lucas will show up there, and Hannah says it isn't Lucas. Hannah says if it is him, she'll show up with a paddle and finish what she started. Hannah then writes the new note and forges it to be in similar handwriting to the original, and it remarkably does. Hannah then goes into the room and grabs Mrs. Reynolds' hand and puts the note in the bracelet. Mrs. Reynolds then goes into cardiac arrest, and Hannah runs out as doctors descend on the room, and Spencer and Hannah escape into the elevator before anyone notices. Well, before the doctors notice, one woman in the waiting room is like... we then... open the next scene on Aria's phone with a text that says, OMG, did she die? That was sent to Spencer. She's at Fitz's house, and he's asking why Aria is not driving with Laurel together tomorrow to meet up at their job site that they're going to be working together. And Aria's like, I'll just be following her separate. It'll be easier. Aria gets a text back from Spencer that says that Mrs. Reynolds is stable. Aria asks if it would be bad if she plays hooky on the job tomorrow, and says Hannah's been feeling bad, so maybe I should just go be there for her. Fitz says no, you can definitely do it, and tries to pump her up of saying she's can definitely do this assistant gig and wouldn't have been hired if she didn't know what she was doing, and then proceeds to cheer her up with an impromptu photo shoot with the camera he bought her. Spencer searches April Rose, Pennsylvania, trying to figure out what in the hell April Rose is.
Who?
Oh, right. Who April Rose is. And then later they find out it's what.
It's a where.
A where. Well,
I guess it's a what.
It's a what, too. While Toby is talking about his recent carpentry job, and it went so well, and they might hire him for more, and all this stuff, Spencer then gets a text from Hannah that says Mrs. Reynolds is back in her room. Toby catches her not paying attention, and Spencer's like, oh, sorry, I just have so much on my plate. Toby says he'll just quietly hang out next to her then. He kisses her, and they make out until Peter comes home and interrupts them. Toby then goes, I guess I should leave then, and goes and leaves. Spencer asks where her mom is, and Peter says she got called into work today for a time-sensitive issue. And Spencer's like, this is about Garrett, isn't it? And he tries to go around it, but then eventually he's like, yeah, she's working Garrett's case. Spencer is mad and is like, what the hell changed? Peter says that the physical evidence used to accuse Garrett can't be retested. Either they don't have enough of it or it got contaminated somehow. Your mom is now pushing to get it used as inadmissible evidence. Spencer points out the prosecution wouldn't have a case, and Spencer rushes out to try and help them. Emily works at the brew as Hannah comes in. Hannah catches her up on the Mrs. Reynolds activity at the hospital. Hannah gives Emily a note with the pickup location of the pickup location for where they found the gray jacket for a donation. Spencer waits on a bench as Jason walks up. Spencer says, we need to talk about Garrett's case. Jason says, oh, so you know about the evidence then. Spencer says she has a way to potentially not get his case thrown out. Do you know someone named April Rose? Jason doesn't seem to know it all, and we cut away to see Peter watching the two of them from his car. Hannah's at another rummage sale, and Ted walks over to talk. Ted asks if Ashley's coming, and Hannah says she can. Ted says, well, I guess I'll just see you at the party tonight. It's a party for the volunteers. Excuse me. Hannah says, no thanks. And Ted says, too bad. You haven't partied until you partied in the church rec room. Hannah's just wait a minute, it's at the church tonight? Okay, well, I'll be there. And it freaks out because it's the same location as the A-note trap. Jason says, I may have met this person, but I wouldn't remember. It could have happened with Ian and Garrett. Spencer's in like the NAT club. Jason's like, how do you know about that? Spencer asks if...
Jason's like the dumbest dumb. Because it's like, he's trying so hard to figure out this case.
Like all on his own?
All on his own. And I'm like, baby boy, you could not follow an episode of Blue's Clues.
Yeah. What do you mean, how does Spencer know?
Here, Aria, here's these creepy pictures of you sleeping
Right.
and a kiss.
Uh-huh.
Like, none of this...
This is just from like my sister or something.
Every action this man has taken has been strange.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's any malintent.
No, I
but
think
I'm like...
You're just not picking up on anything, huh, bud?
Oh, you know when they told you that like doing drugs when you were young would like break your brain?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were using Jason as the poster child of like, don't smoke too much
Ice cream
weed while your
scoops.
brain's developing, kids.
Spencer asks if April Rose was someone in one of the videos. Jason's like, I don't know. I never filmed them. Spencer's like, yeah, but you watched them, didn't you? Jason doesn't answer. Spencer asks how he could watch them without filming. And Jason's like, well, it was my idea. She could have been the subject or one of their employees. He thinks Garrett and Jason were paying girls to set up their friends, but he had walked away from them at that point. We then cut again to Peter watching both of them from his car. Jason says they were the
Does
only...
no one look around in this town? Sorry.
No.
Like, I was thinking about how many people watch other people have conversations from their cars in this very small town square.
Mm-hmm. And that you could just look over and be like, that's my dad's car.
Mm-hmm. I would think you would know your father's license plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think so.
I digress. Both of them. They're
Or just even, right, both of their... Jason would know, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Jason says they were the only official employees, but Ian had help because he couldn't have filmed all of those videos just on his own. And Jason thought at times he was filming for someone else. He then excuses himself, and we cut to Peter watching again. Aria digs through her boots but can't find socks. She then goes to look in Fitz's drawer to steal some socks and finds baggies full of bills wrapped up. She hears the shower turn off and goes...
Like dollar bills, not like bills yos.
Thank you.
I was just like, Edison,
Right?
Genie.
Stacking up cable. Goes and shuts the drawer. Aria yells to Fitz that she has to take off, and he tries to stop her for a kiss goodbye. And he stops her real quick for a kiss goodbye, and then she leaves. Spencer and Hannah are at the grill catching up on Jason news. They wonder who April might be, and Hannah wonders if Maya found the tapes in Allie's stuff. Garrett says, Spencer says maybe, and maybe April has tapes that Garrett wants destroyed. Spencer hypothesizes that maybe Garrett followed them as a lead, and that's how he ended up behind bars. Aria arrives to the two of them, and Hannah says the plan has changed for the night, and Emily and Hannah are going to hide behind the organ to see who shows up, so they can see who it is, and then just plan some sort of attack in the future. Hannah walks off, and Spencer asks why Aria looks weird. Aria says, how much reward money did Jason offer, and did he just have that money lying around in his house? Would it be weird if he did? Spencer says either he's a prepper or a criminal if he does. Peter greets Jason as he steps outside. He says, stay away from Spencer. She needs to focus on schoolwork. Jason says, I didn't get involved in the trial. Peter says, don't worry about Veronica. She didn't take this case out of spite. Like, she doesn't hate you. Jason says, I don't think she hates me. I think she hates you.
Valid. And she should.
Peter says, I don't want my daughter's life derailed anymore, her or her sister's. Jason says, which sister are you referring to? Because as it turns out, I have more than one, and walks away. Ashley arrives at the rummage sale, and Hannah wants to leave, and Ashley's like, no, I want to say hi to Ted. And Hannah calls him Goober. Ashley says she's
rich from the girl who dated what's his name?
Sean. Hannah Banana. That is Glass House is Hannah.
Well, and wasn't Sean a pastor's son?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't Ted's.
I don't think so. I think we'd know Ted.
We'd know, yeah.
I think Ashley would know Ted.
Totally. Ashley says she's going as his date to the party tonight, and Hannah's like, no, don't go there. And Ashley is instead excited about it and wants to go with Hannah. And Hannah's like, well, no, you can't go with me because Toby's picking me up and taking me. Ashley's like, why is Spencer's boyfriend taking you? And it's like, is this about wanting to hurt Caleb? Hannah's like, it's just to get a guy who volunteers here. He just won't take no for an answer. And Ashley's like, oh, should I be worried then? And Hannah's like, no, just disregard. It's the worst lie ever. Fantastic.
We get one of our best Toby scenes out of this, though. He stares down the nerds.
Right. And they're like, Emily tracks the address to a donation box. She sees a restaurant named Sputnik's and has a flashback about being there, and then walks over to it. Hannah tries to get Spencer to involve Toby in the plan tonight. Spencer wonders why she couldn't come up with a better lie. They argue over the plan falling apart, and Spencer digging into trying to find April. She also says she has Garrett's Police Academy yearbook to see if April was potentially a cop. Hannah wonders if they have another crooked cop like Wilden, and then things get awkward. Spencer feels bad about this and says she used to wonder last year what my life would be like if I hadn't met Allie. But, I would just be worrying about college, but, I wouldn't be friends with you. What time should Toby pick you up for the party? Emily sits in the restaurant Sputnik's. It's like this old school diner theme. She gets a text from Hannah telling her to meet at the dance and that Toby's her date, and she'll explain that part later. Emily then sees on her placemat that there's a maze that you can fill in, and then has a flashback. In the flashback, she sees a note on her placemat that says, "Sorry I left you." The waitress comments that Emily doesn't look so good, and we can see a man's reflection in the tiny jukebox, which I then paused and was just like, it's Holden. She noticed.
I was like, it is Holden. I'd forgotten.
Right. And then she notices an eye tattoo on his forearm, meaning that he can only be Lemony Snicket, and they hold hands. In the present, Emily grabs her things and leaves. Spencer rushes to leave as Jason arrives at her door. Jason says, I found April Rose, and it's an April Rose is an it, and points to an antique store. Spencer says, you're driving. Hannah and Toby arrive awkwardly at the church party. Toby asks, who he's here to scare off, and Hannah points to a random guy. Toby then stares down this nerd who's a wallflower with a few other nerds, and the nerd's Ted and Ashley walk up and make things awkward by calling Toby Hannah's date, Hannah's boyfriend. Ted and Ashley seem to be getting along and go off to get some punch. Hannah sees Wilden show up, and she runs and hides, and we see Wilden shake hands with another pastor or someone there at the party. Spencer and Jason arrive at the shop. They see a woman with headphones behind the counter, but she doesn't respond to them. A man then rounds the corner and greets them. Jason says they're here to pick something up. We're here to pick something up. Were you asked to hold something? Clerk's about half the shop. Jason then continues to talk to him as Spencer looks around. She notices a bracelet on a mannequin and has a flashback. Allison and her are hanging out as Spencer is picking a movie. Spencer says Allison's ankle bracelet, which is the same as the one in the store, is pretty, and who gave it to her, one of her boyfriends? Allison says, no, just a friend. Back in the present, Spencer steals the bracelet, or grabs the bracelet. Flashback. Allison undresses out of her robe and says she's going out, and shows that she's in a dress to go out. And she's getting fake IDs from someone, but she'll be back. Spencer's angry because she always ditches her for other plans. Allison goes to leave and says, I'm sorry, my friends are here. Spencer asks which friend, and Allison says, you don't know her. Present. Spencer explains the bracelet to Jason. Jason has to buy it. The clerk is like, oh, I don't recognize it. But, I can't sell it. There's no tag. It must just be a display piece. Jason continues to up his offer to buy until the clerk eventually agrees at $400. Emily picks up a call from Hannah to get to the church party, and Wilden's here, and Emily says she'll hurry up. Toby asks Hannah to dance, and Hannah says no. Toby is angry and is going to leave, so Hannah runs over and stops him, and they dance. Ted and Ashley are talking, and Ted invites her out on a date. Ashley's like, how about Sunday? And he's like, I'm pretty busy on that Sunday. And she's like, okay, how about the next one? And he's like, about every Sunday. I thought Hannah told you I'm an associate pastor. Ashley says, oh, no, she didn't. And he breaks the awkwardness by going to get them more drinks. Toby asks Hannah why he's here. Or maybe the question is, why are you here? Hannah says, maybe I wanted to go to the party. Toby says, I've had naps more exciting than this. Is it about Caleb? And Hannah says, in a way. Ashley calls Hannah over to talk to her. Toby then goes and makes a phone call and leaves a voicemail for Spencer. And is like, call me because I need you to explain why you and Hannah lied to me. Ashley asks Hannah why Hannah didn't tell her Ted was a pastor. Hannah laughs and goes like, he is? Ashley feels weird and Hannah realizes that she really likes him. Ashley thinks she blew it, but Hannah boosts her up. It's like, no, you didn't. It's all right. Ashley says all it takes is one look at my resume to see that I'm no angel. And Hannah's like, well, who is? Emily arrives at the party and is stopped by Holden of all people. What the hell are you doing at this party, Holden? And asks if all the friends are coming. Emily says, no, just Hannah. And have you seen her? Holden says no and is like, you have to have a cupcake, and holds a cupcake up to her. Emily notices the eye tattoo on his forearm, or it's on the other side of his wrist. She asks when he got that tattoo, and Holden rubs off the tattoo to reveal that it's just a stamp. He says it's from a party that rotates venues, it's a private thing, and I used to see your friend there. Emily says, who? And he's like, your girlfriend. Holden then looks around and says, I gotta go. Emily has a flashback to the back of his head in the diner. Ashley walks back out to talk to Ted and asks him to dance, and he says yes. Wilden then walks over and continues to be an absolute ass and stops them. Ted introduces himself, and he says, I'm surprised to see you, your officer. Wilden says, I was going to say the same to Miss Marin here. Ashley says, oh, we've crossed paths in the past because he was involved with Allison's case and whatnot. Wilden says, and our paths may cross again, and walks away. Ashley and Ted continue to dance, but Ashley stops them, saying she got a headache and should go home. Spencer listens to the voicemail from Toby as Jason walks up from going inside the police station. He's like, it went well. I told them I got an anonymous tip about it. Spencer asks if Jason still has the letters that tipped him off to Peter being his dad. Jason says yes, but you don't want to see that. It'll only hurt. Spencer says, you're so different from Allison. The very reason you don't want me to see it would be the reason she wanted me to. Jason wonders how Allison would have changed as she grew up. Spencer mentions, how the more you got to know her, the more layers there were. Hannah walks up to Emily, and Emily catches her up on the Holden situation, and it might have to do with Maya. They look around for Holden to try and find him. Hannah sees an open door and says, Emily, just go look around and go wait by the church door. I'm going to go to the organ and get there before A does. Hannah walks in and hides behind a pew when she hears someone come in. We see a man in a suit walk in. After the commercial break, the man walks down the aisle and finds Hannah, and we see it's Wilden. He asks Hannah if the note is hers, and Hannah's like, no. Wilden says a nurse found it and handed it over to the police. Hannah says she was there looking for someone. Wilden asks why she was helping him. Was all that fuss pointing to Ian? Was that actually to help Garrett? Why are you in his corner? Hannah says she needs to go to her mom, and Wilden says, oh, she left. I bet when she was your age, she also caused a lot of problems, just like you do. But you know what? She fixes them for you, and you know how she fixes them. Hannah then leaves. Ugh. Aria comes over to Fitz's, but she seems off. Fitz asks how the day went, and Aria says it went horribly. She made all these mistakes and dropped all sorts of stuff and things. And Aria's like, yeah, I was just distracted. I found the money in your sock drawer. Fitz says, is that why you ran out earlier? Aria says, yes. Where did that money come from? Fitz says, I sold my car my grandfather left me that I was going to fix up, but I needed the money. Aria says, they paid you in cash. Fitz is like, yes, I'll get a break on my taxes this way. Are you just not reporting shit? Or
Yeah, he's not.
I think that's what it's read to me. It's just well, the IRS doesn't have to know about this transaction. Aria says, why didn't you tell me? And Fitz says, because it's embarrassing, not being employed. You got a job, didn't you? Aria sits down next to him and they watch a movie. Peter drinks coffee in the kitchen as Spencer comes in. He wants to talk to her, and she says, I assumed Mom and you would want to talk. Peter says an important piece of evidence was turned in last night, but I imagine you already know. Police have been looking for that anklet for 2 years. Spencer's like, wait, what? They didn't tell the family and kept it out of the press. The bracelet had traces of blood, or the police didn't tell the families and kept it out of the press that they were looking for this bracelet. And and the bracelet had traces of blood on it, and it doesn't belong to Garrett. Spencer says it's not possible, and Peter says, well, the judge has now thrown out the case against him. Spencer runs back upstairs and shuts her bedroom door, screams into her pillow. She goes to call someone, but instead gets a text from A that says, hey, Spencer, I have one more surprise for you. Garrett isn't the killer. Our POV shot for this episode is a gloved hand puts down a bowl of ice cream, picks up a newspaper announcing Garrett charges dismissed, but still pursuing his involvement in Maya's murder. They then pick up a rental classifieds and circle one with a room for rent, and they call the number. The end.
Okay. While you were doing that, I was looking up because it's always bothered me. Remember when we did our first episode and it was like Emily's house is the Gilmore's house, and I was like, that's not right. I found another article that said it was Lane's house, the front of Kim's Antiques.
That makes more sense.
That makes more sense.
Way more sense.
That makes more sense. So I think that's what it is. Those are the very important things I did while you were reading that.
No, perfect. I'm glad you got to the bottom of this because now it makes
investigative journalism over here.
That's right.
And
Rory would be proud.
When we see Spencer's like front door that has the steps, that's Lorelai's house without the banister.
Oh.
And there's just like all the steps coming down from it instead of a big porch. So it's like a big porch with steps.
Steps instead.
Of the banister.
That makes
Isn't
more
that
sense.
Interesting? Anyway, not the point. That and the De Laurentz's house doesn't have a roof.
Oh, really?
That's why you
There's
never
no
see
roof.
the top of it.
Poor Jason. Well, where is he living now that it like got all burnt down?
I don't know. What is Jason doing? That's
shows up at Lucas's house, room for a third.
You got a third bunk. These girls have gotten exceptionally bad at lying.
Yes.
They used to be kind of good at it.
And now they've gone straight downhill.
So Aria can't lie to Ezra, apparently. Spencer can't lie to Toby.
No.
Hannah can't lie to her mother.
No, and she can't lie to her mother, and she also can't lie to Wilden, and neither
Toby.
Neither can Spencer. Yeah, or Toby.
What is happening?
Yeah, no, they've just completely lost the plot.
They've frazzled. They've all frazzled.
I know.
Is it a stress reaction, do we think?
You know what? I think so, because they've been through a lot, and then now their friend's body is missing, and they're like potentially like
part of that problem.
Exactly. Someone could point in their direction.
The only person who's keeping it together, weirdly, is Emily.
Yeah, because Emily's just angry.
She's pissed.
Well, yeah, now that she's no longer like problem drinking because she got really scared.
Mm-hmm. Scared straight.
Yeah.
Like,
hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah. Yeah, the straight edge lifestyle I don't think needs to be, I mean, it is very ABC Family to promote like don't drink, don't do drugs.
Right. Mm-hmm. You don't know what could happen. Someone could drug you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they could also just drug you.
Yeah.
But anyway, the world's scary. Spencer and Jason, does he know more than he's telling her?
Yes.
What does he know?
I don't think he wants to. I don't know exactly what he knows, but I know he knows more than he's letting on, because what in the hell was up with the cash for $50K?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he wants to not show Spencer the letters for a specific reason. Like, I don't think it's just because like it'll make you sad. I think there's more to it than that. I don't think, again, Jason is maybe just trying to protect himself. I don't think it's going to be like an evil turn for him that he's been in cahoots with all these people, but I think like the NAT club remnants still have like shit hanging over him, so that he's like trying to protect himself. Because you know how like Garrett shows up on his like porch like a while, like last season, like to rattle him and things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like that sort of thing.
I always try to scare people by showing up with a 6-pack of beer and.
Well, when you're the cops, and also if it's like, yeah, like I know like how horrible you feel about that night, it's pretty effective.
Speaking of that, Jason, NAT planner, originator,
yeah,
took the AP class to learn the Latin. I don't know, but then was like, you know what? I'm not going to do any of the dirty work. And if that's not a wealthy white boy move, I don't know what is.
I'm the NAT CEO.
But it's weird though, because Ian, we also know, was wealthy white boy, and Garrett was our civil servant of the group. We don't know what his family does though. They might also just be wealthy. But
they live in Rosewood.
Ian is the one who was doing all the legwork, it seems.
Right. And it also seemed like my vibe that I got from it, that it seemed like Ian enjoyed it. But then also at the other part, it's like Jason's like, yeah, I think he might have been doing it for someone.
Yeah, there's something else going on.
But yeah, Jason also doesn't say like why it was his idea, why he wanted to do this. Why did you want to film people?
Because they're creepy boys. They want weird, creepy videos of girls.
And then like, what changed in you to make the break? Because it sounded like it was before you were getting like hammered.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's going to be more that we uncover of like, because I think there's that scheme that we still don't know about that they're all discussing in Allison's room that is somehow then connected to Jason, that they had to like get Jason drunk and stuff to get him out of the way.
You know what the issue is? Because they treat this like an MLM and, they each needed to recruit 3 friends, they had both tried to recruit Jenna.
Right, I know.
And you can't both bring in the same person on your team. And Jenna probably played them both.
Exactly, yeah. So really, she brought in 2 people.
Well, she brought in, yeah, exactly. And she brought in 3 more.
Exactly.
How do you think we got Mona? We got Lucas. We got, I don't know. Who else did you have on that list?
Well, I mean, Melissa's in there, not necessarily Jenna's cohort. But it seems like maybe Melissa became Jenna's cohort.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe they're like, if we put our teams together, we can both be the queens and then we can win this MLM contest. And then we can get the free vacation to Hawaii.
Yeah. There you go.
Selling our candles.
Our weird, creepy videos.
What happened to Aria's sock that she was looking for?
That is true.
She only had 1 sock. She was like, oh, where's the other one? I'll look. And then she's like, oh, I'll just steal a sock.
Right. And then it's just like, I gotta get out of here.
But like, where did the first one go?
Where did the first one go?
Why is it gone? Like, I know it was just so that she had to open a sock drawer.
Right.
But it's such a weird thing to do. Not like, oh, I snagged my sock and I have a hole. I'm going to steal one of his.
Right. But it's just like, oh, I'm missing one, so I'm going to steal 1 sock from him?
Whereas the other one was tucked into her shoe. Like, it's not like she left him, like, strewn throughout the apartment.
No.
I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, where did it go?
You should have looked harder.
But speaking of that, then, where'd the cash come from in Ezra's drawer? Do you think he sold a car his grandpa gave him?
No. That seems so fucking fishy. What are you up to, Ezra?
Also, was Ezra ever working on a car?
No, we've never seen it. We've only seen him drive.
I've never seen him with dirty hands.
No, this seems fishy. So, like, I don't think... And also, he's like, God, I can't believe, like, I feel so bad about, like, not being employed. But he just got a job.
But he was ashamed of what the job was compared to how he was a respected professor and teacher before. And I'm like, yeah, we pay those so well.
You're very...
Like, considering he was probably like an adjunct, like, I'm like, I guess he was in-house. So like,
he was a high school teacher, I guess.
Yeah. Not to shit on those professions. I was raised by them. But they don't make a lot of money.
No.
I don't know any wealthy teachers that weren't born wealthy. I don't know any wealthy teachers. But...
Unless they're like, I guess it'd be like private or something.
And I would doubt private schools pay that well.
I don't know. That's the only one I would think, but that's without any hard evidence.
I assume most of the Catholic schools that make the nuns work don't pay well.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I just make assumptions here, but what do I know?
Right, yeah,
I only know public school teachers. Okay. Yeah, so Ezra fishy. Something
Extremely.
sketch. What do you think it is? Do you think it's the money from Jason?
No, I don't think is gonna loop back around to being involved in this. Other than it's a nice theory to throw onto the end of Theory Corner. Because, he's the red herring. I just think he's got some weird other shit going on because it's fucking Fitz. But we'll see.
Interesting.
I don't think it's going to be involved.
Okay. Let's talk really quickly about Holden. What do we know?
Right. Like, out of nowhere, it's just like he just comes back. And he's going to this rotating party, this like underground party.
Holden does karate and he goes to cool parties. Like he's so much cooler than all of us.
But like, what was he doing with Emily? I'm assuming, you know what? I'm assuming he was on the up and up, had run into Emily when she was out and about, like possibly after she had gotten, I don't think she jumped out of Jenna's car. I think she got dumped. And then, or no, that doesn't line up actually. How did she end up at the graveyard?
Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it was before Jenna found her.
Right. And like, he was like, hey, do you need help? Let's get you coffee and some food. But then what was the note?
I don't feel like giving drunk people coffee is always a good move. What do I know, though? I've just seen drunk people run.
Right. Yeah, I supposedly it helps sober you up, right?
I mean, that's what they do in TV shows, but like, think about any time you've seen someone mix alcohol and caffeine.
Right.
Has it gone well for them?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I don't know if coffee sobers you up. But what was the... Yeah, there's also the note on the placemat that says, "Sorry, I left you."
Mm-hmm. Who left her?
Who left her? Mm-hmm. It's all very fishy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I don't know. Nah, I'm turning back around on Holden because he seems creepy when he runs into Emily too. Here, have this cupcake. You have to eat this cupcake. What's going on here?
What's in the cupcake?
I know. Even if it was nothing, he was still like awkward because like he had run into Emily that night and hasn't talked to her since then. Mm-hmm. So like, what were you up to, dude? Could he be another appendage of the Jenna cohort? I don't know. It's interesting though. It's a good thing to like throw out there of just like a random character to pull in as a new variable.
Ashley and Ted.
Yeah.
Cute.
Very cute.
Wilden's ruining
I know
things,
when they brought in Wilden again, it's like, oh shit. Which is going to be, I think, again, Ashley having to reconcile that shame that she has to be able to be with Ted, and Ted's just going to be like, it's fine.
It's because he's obviously not Catholic.
Right, exactly.
Only Emily canonically.
He looks like he's like Christian.
Uh-huh. But like Christian with a skate park.
Exactly.
The Christians where they get tattoos.
Very much so.
Uh-huh.
And that can date. So it's rough, especially that Ashley's like, oh, cool, I get to be reminded of this guy who assaulted me.
Yeah, creep. I hate Wilden.
Yeah, that's a rough time.
Speaking of Wilden, what the fuck is happening with him? Why?
Of just like why he's even there at the church.
Yeah, and like once again he's bullying teenagers.
Uh-huh.
Well, he's there because of the note.
Right.
But it's like the fact that he's like really thinks that like these girls would have murdered their friend.
I know.
Like there's no way. Have you looked at them?
Have you looked at what they're like doing? And he's like, why are you on Garrett's side? It's like, what do you mean? How would you connect them to like helping Garrett at all?
Because the note, she's where the note was, and so
passing
the note to Garrett
must think it's like her, but like I wouldn't think like they were even in. I don't know. It doesn't exactly at all, but yep, he's just back. He's he's back to shaking them because that's the only thing he can do, I guess.
We need Miss Hastings to kick him out of town again.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he allowed to come back?
I know. Mrs. Hastings is now
busy.
Exactly. So she can't like go rattle again.
We need her to go boss babe Wilden.
Exactly.
Where's girl boss Mrs. Hastings?
Yep. She's too busy trying to keep her head down with now she's representing Garrett. Not good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't you get the fuck out of here, Wilden. And it's just gotta be some fucking connection coming back to Jenna. It's gotta be...
All roads lead to Jenna for you.
Exactly. It's gotta come back to that. Again, we didn't see them together at that party for no reason.
I love that you're really holding on to that.
Gotta be something more. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Hannah and Toby. And Toby in general. Poor sweet Toby just wants to know what's going on.
He just just tell Toby what's happening. Yeah, that is the annoyance this season is everybody backsliding into not telling their like significant others what the hell's going on. So it's like the same thing with like Caleb, where it's just like, nah, really? It's the same thing with Toby. And so Toby's now like, why are you lying to me? When you could just tell Toby that like Hannah messed up and lied to her mom and needs you to like just like help her cover because she's going to be doing this. And Toby would be like, yes.
Yeah.
Tell me how high. There's no reason for Spencer to like...
Toby is very coachable, trainable, safe.
Exactly. The golden retriever, right? You got it. Like, he's very trainable. But also at the same time, he's not going to not believe Spencer. He's not going to be like, oh, you actually did dig up the body.
Yeah, he's not going to think Spencer dug
No,
up the body.
he would probably just be
and
like...
he'd protect Emily to his dying day because he is nothing if not loyal.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, if there hadn't been other things where Toby wasn't brought into the fold, and like how things ended the last season, where Toby isn't already like ride or die, you should tell Toby.
Mm-hmm.
So it just doesn't make sense character-wise to leave him out of the loop. And then, of course, Toby's just like, I want to know what's going on. Why are we doing this again? Just like Caleb, who was just like, why are we doing this again?
Which one of those two do you think will figure it out first?
Toby. Because I think Caleb is going to be shipped off pretty soon.
You think Caleb's going to be shipped off pretty soon?
Halfway point of the season, he's on a different TV show.
Only when when the show's on its break.
Fair enough. But I think Toby will probably figure it. It seems like there's more happening with Toby's character than Caleb's.
I see.
And I think that's a lot. I'm writing a lot back because he's on Ravenswood. Yeah.
I'm interested to see what we think of Ravenswood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little spooked.
Yeah.
I've watched the YouTube compilations. Well, I'm easily spooked. I think that's an important thing to know. The Halloween episode, that's this mid-season Halloween episode, it scared me when I watched it.
Okay.
Was I also... No, I would have been past surgery because it would have been after that. But like, I do believe it spooked me. I am easily spooked though. I couldn't watch American Horror Story for years.
Gotcha.
Then I got to the point where I could, and then I got to a certain point where I was like, why am I still watching
this?
The Witch season was, really great. And then from then on, it just got weirder.
Yeah.
Last but not least, whose blood is on the anklet?
Obviously not Allison's, because they would know.
Well, I think it's hers and someone else's, wasn't it? Weren't they like, oh.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, it was not just hers alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know yet. We don't, we're not there yet to really understand. I feel like to start putting pieces together yet. I feel like we're still too in the dark to understand who that could be.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, there's not a... I mean, for pretty much for that is just to clear Garrett and get Garrett out of jail. And I think that's very, like, good that, like, Spencer's like, we got to follow these clues, and then ends up just, like, helping Garrett. That's, like, super effective, where she's just like, oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. We literally, like, got him out of jail, and, like, he had this insurance policy just hanging out, like, at a different antique store and stuff. As, like, his get out of jail free.
But it was brought in just a couple days ago, they thought. So who put it there?
Into the, like, antique store? Uh-huh. Because he's also, was Garrett then the one who wrote the note? Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the other thing. Was Garrett actually just there to, like, say, like, to write a note for his mom and see his mom?
Oh, maybe.
And was someone else put that note there? That could be another option. But I was operating under the idea that he wrote the note and had that someone else, I guess. But how would he know where it was? That'd be the other thing.
Maybe someone else visited him and put it there.
Yeah.
We don't know. But what I do know is that
I just don't have enough, I feel, to, like, put it together.
Do you have theories? Are you ready to take us to your corner?
I am.
That's you in the corner.
So with, my wishy-washy attitude on things, we'll at least start, like, throwing spaghetti at the wall some more.
Oh, this is our old theory corner. No.
We're not there yet.
Okay. I was like...
Wrong slide.
We went back to the wrong office, friends.
All right, let's step into... Theory Corner. Welcome to Brenton's Theory Corner, where we talk about the theories and sit in this nice little corner at this desk where I have a film reel. Or I guess it's an old school audio reel, probably.
Well, which desk is yours?
This one on the right hand side here.
Oh, where's my desk?
Where do you want to sit?
I don't know. Where would you put me?
You can go right there with the phone.
Okay. I do like talking.
Yeah.
There's a nice little notebook.
Yeah, exactly. And your glasses are sitting there too.
Perfect.
Okay. So what is going on? What is happening?
Who killed Maya?
I don't know.
Okay. Who killed Allison?
I don't know.
Who is A?
I think it's part of like who's the new A is part of the Jenna's cohort.
The Jenna squad.
Exactly, the A team. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. So I do think that Lucas is the one that took the picture, and probably also was the one who then drugged Emily.
And put all the photos in Spencer's car.
Yes. Because I think he's doing dirty work for other people and is like caught up about it.
So he's the runner.
He is the runner. He's the runner, the doer, but he's not the brains of the operation. I still think that's Jenna. This is the, as part of the A team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Melissa. I still think Melissa could be, once again, running for A. Is at least like entangled in the squad because Melissa is all up to all sorts of shady shit. We didn't see her this week. But she still says shady.
She's suspicious.
Absolutely. And so maybe Melissa was the one that put the bracelet in the shop. And it was obviously not buried
with Allison.
Exactly, because or else
they would have found it when they dug her up.
Well, did the police ever dig her up?
Remember, she was found because they were going to take out the gazebo, and so someone was digging there.
Right, because they found that's when they found her body to bury it.
Because on all the flashback scenes, there's like that area where they were digging for the gazebo.
Right, so they wouldn't have found it there, so it was not on her body, which makes me think that Garrett, Jenna, and those people in the room on that video had like held on to it or something. To like disprove that they didn't do it, but be able to hold over who the person was that killed Allison, who I think is probably the same person that killed Maya. Maya got involved with like finding items at her house. And I think her going to whatever that rotating party is was like potentially meet with the person that she had gotten involved with when she like found those items at the house.
Okay.
And it's part of the A team. Holden, I think he's a weird wild card because he's not involved with anybody that we really know other than with Aria beforehand. So
is he a red herring? Is he just there?
I think he's a red herring somehow. But I don't quite have the pieces of how he ran into like Emily and all that, and what Emily is even talking about at the diner and all those things. I think maybe he finds her there at the diner, and that the person who dropped Emily off there then wrote on the placemat that says "Sorry, I left you," as like a communicating to Emily. And so that would have had to happen prior to the...
Because you know what I always do when I see someone who's like a little too drunk or intoxicated is I leave them a written note. On a placemat.
Well, there's a big hole in the theory. But that's the best of my ideas for that so far.
It could have been Jason because he's stupid.
It could have been Jason. It could have been Jason who picked her up and left her there.
Why would he not just take her home? Why would he not just take her to Spencer's house?
Right.
Drop her off at the gate.
I don't know what I don't have a good reason for it.
Okay.
Just saying it, just throwing out ideas for people there. And then, because like, what's the time between they find her at midnight, after midnight?
Yeah.
So it's only 2 hours that she was like disappeared from Spencer's house, right? Yeah, that's like hard.
She covered a lot of ground.
And then it would have had to been that she got then dropped back off at the grave at the end. This is a really hard one. This is the much more like complex moving parts, I feel, with these mysteries, rather than we haven't figured out who Allison's killer is. We now have Maya's killer. We have to figure out like what happened with like the night that Emily disappeared. And like things are moving, but like damn if I know where it's going. It's hard to develop theories, I feel like, at this point. But I do think that Jenna is still involved in it's Jenna's A team that got them all framed there and Emily framed there. And I think Holden is probably just a red herring. And Lucas is in just way over his head. And Melissa is more involved than we think and could possibly be the new A.
I love it. Any final thoughts or theories? Excuse me. I had a hiccup.
You know, I think that's it for Theory Corner. Maybe we'll have a little bit more crystallized ideas next week. And hopefully I'll have a bit more food in my belly.
By the mid-season finale, you will have theories.
Okay.
You'll have thoughts.
I'm sure I will.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. There's just a lot, there's a lot of fun curveballs being thrown, so I just don't know. And I also like to, I just don't know what the fucking Wilden piece is in this, but I don't think he's just investigating. I think he's the dirty cop too. I mean, he is a dirty cop, but involved with
He's a dirty old man and I hate him.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. Yeah. All right. Well, stay tuned on Wilden. He's on the shit list too. I think he's running shit too. Not he's doing shit for people and thinks he's all smart and getting one step ahead of the game, but he isn't.
No.
And Jenna's gonna get him.
Jenna or Hannah?
Jenna.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming to Theory Corner. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Final thoughts. Feels. Reactions.
Yeah. It's very funny because I'm just so lost in the dark on where it's going to go. But it's a good time.
People used to have these crazy fan theories when I watched the show, and I was like, I'm just here for a good time.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I have a hard
when you
time
watched
this
it
one.
just week to week, one episode at a time, it became really confusing to remember. Holden, I was like, what was he again?
Right.
Because you have to think at this point, it's been a long time since you've last seen him. And really thought about him.
Yeah, completely.
And you're like, why is he here?
Right. Oh, he's back. Oh, Holden's here. Wait, he was involved with how much of this stuff? What do we know about him? He does karate and he's friends with Aria. That's about it. What is he doing at a church
He saved her from Noel Khan on the roof?
What about, why is he at this church thing? What's with this party? There's all kinds of random things being thrown out
Does he
there.
go to this church? Yeah.
We don't know enough about him. So it's lots of pieces being thrown out there.
All right. Well, in that case, plugs. I was like, what's the word?
I was like, oh, I thought you were just going to launch into it.
And I couldn't remember the word for plugs. And I was like, what are we doing? It's okay. She's having a hard time. She's here for a good time.
That's right.
Just like I am when I watch the show. When I'm not here doing this, I do other things, and you can find all of those things in the link tree Brenton sticks in all of our descriptions.
You can find this podcast in video form on YouTube at Dead Ends. You can also find this on all your audio podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. Rate, review us, 5 stars, subscribe. It helps. Word of mouth also helps because we're a small podcast.
We're so small.
We're little. So any positive encouragement, reviews and things like that help a bunch. And if you want to just follow us on Twitter just to keep up with when new episodes are out, that's twitter.com. Our user is deadendspcast. And then if you want to send in a question or an email, that's deadendspcast@gmail.com. And that's also listed in the episode description.
All right.
We're still here. We're going to find out everything. Because I sure as hell know nothing at the moment.
You know nothing.
I do.
I love that for you.
Thank you.